The pub experience is a bit different in the COVID era, but many of them are grateful to be open. They had week after week with the doors closed earlier this year. Now they're facing the prospect of another shake-up in the rules. Publicans say if they have to shut down again, even for a relatively short period, it could be crippling.
Well, it has already had huge effect on our business. If we have to close again, how are we going to secure the jobs? How are we going to pay the rent? How are we going to survive in this industry?
Throughout the last few months, Scotland's been following what's called a route map out of lockdown, and things have been opening up. But now with the infections spreading again, they're taking a different direction, and it's places like this that look like having to bear the brunt.
If you were designing somewhere for the virus to spread, would it include a 1 metre distancing exemption, poorer ventilation, more crowds, alcohol, and a place where you could mix households? It's harsh, but yes, it probably would. And that's what some of hospitality looks like.
Restaurants are also tonight pondering what might be served up for them. Alcohol sales play a big part here too, and if that was restricted, it could mean a struggle to stay afloat.
The only way for any businesses to survive is government need to help us. They need to support us financially, and I cannot see us going on like the way we are at the moment.
Glasgow is one of the areas with the highest infection rate. The ban on household visits was brought in here first, and now the city could have more local curbs imposed.
The measures that have been put in place are fine, but as I says, I wouldn't go for a total lockdown again.
Having to stay in, right, I wouldn't like that at all.
Yeah, everything is closing down because people don't care.
In the Highlands, cases are considerably lower, although rising.
Shut the borders when they eased the restrictions would have been my opinion.
We can't close the economy down, we have to keep going, otherwise there'll be nothing left. So it needs to be localised.
Across the country, 800 new cases have been recorded today, but there's an assurance we're not back to square one.
We're living our lives much more normally than we were then and through the summer. You know, back in March, we shut all shops and, you know, pretty much everything was shut. We were not allowed to leave our houses except to go to essential work. We're not going back there or anything like it.
The urgency of all this has been illustrated again with an outbreak at 2 care homes in Edinburgh and West Lothian. Between Milford House and Red Mill, more than 80 residents and staff have tested positive, and there have been a number of deaths. Gordon Cree, STV News.
OK, let's get more now from our political editor, Colin Mackay. Colin, what are you expecting from the First Minister tomorrow?
Well, the First Minister was clear today in her press briefing earlier on that we're not facing another lockdown. The main focus seems to be in hospitality. It's not going to be the only thing that ministers are looking at. They're looking at anywhere that people get together and could spread the virus. But let's look at pubs, because that is probably the main one. It was clear when the 10 p.m. curfew came in that the First Minister felt that that could have gone further, that she didn't think it went far enough. Now, I don't think we're looking at the complete shutdown of pubs being announced tomorrow, but there will be measures probably about the times, the opening times of pubs. But ministers will also be considering financial support for the industry when they meet at 8:30 tomorrow morning before the First Minister's statement in the afternoon. Now, this is all because the numbers of coronavirus cases are going in the wrong direction. 44 extra people in hospital in the last 24 hours. In the last week up to yesterday, 18 more coronavirus deaths in Scotland. That's the same number as there were in the whole of the last month. So this is looking like a much more sober October than people had expected, because these new restrictions, when they come in, will come into force this weekend after the First Minister announces them tomorrow.